Well, the Broncos wrap up the regular season on Sunday. We don't know exactly who's going to be playing for the Chargers. We do know who the starting quarterback will be, and it's not the guy that has beaten the Broncos a number of times. We're going to get into all of it right now. Chris Harris Jr. and I bring you Football Fridays now. Yeah, Chris, Monday, Jim Harbaugh came out, and he was like, he's not dancing around it. He said he is going to sit Justin Herbert and anybody that needs the rest. So Joe Lombardi brought up on the podium on Thursday, we don't know if Khalil Mack's playing. We don't know if Derwin James is playing. And so he's like, you obviously have to prepare that they might, but then we'll find out Sunday, I guess 90 minutes ahead of time, if not earlier in the day, if it gets reported, if any of those top guys are going. But where do you come down on the idea that they just want to be as healthy as possible and they'll let the seeding fall the way it may? If they lose and the Bills both lose, then the Bills actually, I think, drop behind them to 7th, or the Bills are behind them right now, if I'm not mistaken. If the Bills win, they jump to 6th. 7 seed goes to New England, 6 seeds going to Jacksonville. So where do you come down on Harbaugh's thoughts to rest his guys, mainly Herbert?
Well, he knows he's going to have to go on the road either way it goes. And it's just, do you want to play the Patriots? Do you think you match up better or with the Jags? And for me, I don't think they want to go to New England. If I'm them, I'm trying to win and try to go to Jacksonville and be able to go there and play on the road. But that's his strategy. He believes in keeping his guys healthy and making sure they're healthy over seeding. And you got to understand it. You know, with Herbert, he's been banged up all year. Backup O lineman, Derwin James, all those guys have been fighting all season. So I understand if he definitely doesn't play those guys and puts the health over the seeding going into this last week of the playoffs or last week of the regular season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You know, I do my normal Friday spots on Fox 31 and Channel 2, and they asked, what do you need to see from this team on Sunday? And, you know, you go back to the Sean Payton, hey, there's no aesthetically pleasing stat. It's wins and losses. I do think it would, and I don't know if the Broncos mind being overlooked or, oh, they're not the strongest number 1 seed if they lock this up, but a 30-10 win, you know, would maybe rewrite some of that, or it gets discounted and say, oh, it's Trey Lance and it's a bunch of backups, you know, because with the Chiefs, we saw the way they wanted to play it. They wanted those long drives. They wanted to not make any mistakes. It's going to be similar this week, I think. But are you going to be, if it ends up being 16-10 or 20-13 was the score we saw against the Chiefs, if it's that versus a decisive butt-kicking score-wise, will you be bothered by that at all?
Nah, this is the last week. And when you look at an NFL player's mindset, they're just trying to get through this last weekend and get to the playoffs and to the real ball. So the Broncos definitely got to come focused just because you got the number 1 seed and home field advantage hanging right there over your heads. But so you do have to handle business. But, you know, they're going to make sure they come in there and get the job done, get the win, going against another backup quarterback again. It was a good thing they got a taste versus the Chiefs, so they know they got to at least come out there and bring their A game. And, you know, Trey Lance is going to try to come out and prove that he's a starting quarterback in his league. So it's a good opportunity for him. And then it's also might get a chance to see some younger players from the Broncos, get some guys in that hadn't played too much.
Yeah, we're spending so much time talking about the Chargers backups. If the Broncos take care of business in the first half, then maybe you do see Jarrett Stidham play the whole second half or a good chunk of it, and you see Palcho getting back in there. Maybe he's playing tackle instead of guard, and he's in there playing left tackle or whatever it may be. You're sitting Powers to let him continue to get out. Maybe giving Quinn Minards a bit of rest. You can only bring up so many guys. Mercedes Lewis needs 1 catch to have a catch in all 20 seasons. We'll get into incentives in a little bit. You know, but you brought something up, and we're going to hear from Sean Payton in just a second. But I asked Sean about, because he talked about it's a playoff game, and we're going to hear what he wants from the crowd and all that. But I approach it like a playoff game. But the idea of getting that bye, while it's nice to have the rest, he's like, we don't really need the rest. And we'll touch on the injury report too in a little while. It's about playing 1 less game. That is the most important thing. And it means even more now than when you were playing, because only 1 team in each conference is getting it. And so it's the Broncos, and it's going to be whichever NFC West team ends up, surviving there. We think Seattle. And that means not only you in the driver's seat, everyone has to come to your place. You also get a whole week where you don't have to play at all. So no injuries can happen essentially in a game, or guys get banged up or whatever it may be, or just get beaten up from having to play that. And so it's simplified, but it's like, oh, one last game we just have to worry about that all 6 other teams in our conference have to endure.
Yeah, and that home field advantage is crucial, but it's not as crucial as it was when I was playing. We had to deal with Tom Brady, so we knew that we could not let him get the first seed, and we'd have to go to New England. So now there's no quarterback or any team that's just dominant at home like that. So the Broncos, just being able to get this win, at least they do have a dominant home field, a great home field advantage. So that would be huge. But it's the number 1 seed, and having to get that isn't as crucial as it was back when we were playing, because there's not a quarterback that just is so dominant. Like Josh Allen isn't so dominant in Buffalo. We've seen him get beat there. Mahomes isn't in it this year. None of the quarterbacks that you can see, you don't really have that much fear on the road of facing those guys.
Yeah, and you talk about home field, and just for a split second, jumping over to the NFC, if it is the Seahawks, they certainly have the best home field advantage of those teams. Now, if the Niners got it, I think they've got a better home crowd certainly than the Rams do. The Rams just don't have that level of fan base like they once did. It's greater than the Chargers, but let's say they played the Niners again. Like, that was a Niners home crowd. The Niners are the second most popular team in Southern California after the Raiders. And so a couple of years ago, and I know the Rams obviously survived that, but it's one of those where you say, okay, if it goes through Seattle, and Sam Darnold has certainly played better at home, those teams have gone there, specifically the other 2 NFC West teams, if that was the title game. But taking either the Eagles have to go to Seattle, or, if you've got to fly all the way across the country, that is a tougher place to play than any other place you would have to go, save for maybe Lambeau in the snow. And we've seen the Packers lose, Aaron Rodgers certainly, but we've seen the Packers lose at home as well, and they're not going to have home field advantage at any point. So I think that maybe matters for Seattle and for Denver more than the other teams.
Oh yeah, Seattle's always been a tough place to play when that 12th man gets rocking up there. It can be very tough. San Francisco fans, yeah, they're pretty loud. They're not as crazy as Seattle, but I think the craziest fans in the NFC that I've always faced was Philly. Their fans are crazy, and then dealing with Seattle. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens on that side of the conference. The seeding is going to be, it's looking like it's going to be the winner out of Seattle versus 49ers, right?
Yeah.
So they got a battle for the number 1 seed. That's going to be huge. I guarantee you nobody wants to go to Chicago.
Yeah, right. When that popped up, you're absolutely right. If Seattle were to get beaten if the standings hold like this, and Seattle were to get beaten in the divisional round, and then you have to go to Chicago for the championship game, yeah, nobody wants any part of that. Whether pick any of those teams around there. The Packers, I guess, would be most equipped for it because they've obviously done it the most. But yeah, nobody wants to be in Chicago on January 23rd or whatever that Sunday is, 25th. I don't know.
That was blowing down there. Nobody wants to touch that.
No, you're absolutely right. One of the things Sean Payton said, because you talked about the 12th man, he talked about Seattle, and he's like, yeah, 12th man, they stole it from A&M. And he's like, and they ran with it. I don't even know why he threw that in there the other day, but he just wanted to take a dig at Seattle for stealing the 12th man. And because it was when he's talking about the crowd, and that may actually be in the soundbite we're going to get to. Before we hear from some of the Broncos notables from the podium, want to thank our friends at Furniture Row. They've got a 5-day New Year's sale, special zero interest financing available. Obviously, several locations up and down the Front Range, but Furniture Row nice enough to provide us. You see the cool fancy chair I'm sitting in. We got a whole new set thanks to our friends at Furniture Row. And Denver Mattress, all the beds in my house are from Denver Mattress. And so I can't say enough good things about Denver Mattress and Furniture Row. Real furniture and, of course, real value. All right, so let's hear from Sean Payton. This is what he wants to see, Chris, from the Broncos crowd Sunday at Empower Field at Mile High to make things uncomfortable for Trey Lance and company?
Man, I sure hope so. And I say this, I'm not being critical, but earlier. And so no shell games on the scoreboard, no follow the Bronco head or any. Let's get this, when they're getting in the huddle, deafening, and that's the 12th man. That truly, there could be no better. When A&M coined that phrase, and then the Seahawks bought it from them, it really fits. That is what's so exciting about this game, and then what a win in this game can do, for the next couple games. So, and remember, granted we were in a dome, but there's about 4 stadiums in this league that can be deafening, and I think ours in the last, beginning at Green Bay, we heard it.
I think some that Chiefs game too. We know what a home field advantage this can be. You lived it obviously for 5 years here. Not that it wasn't still great after Peyton retired and after the Super Bowl, but especially look, your rookie year was Tebow time, and then the 4 years with Peyton. Nobody wanted to come here, whether you were Tom Brady or otherwise. And you guys held Aaron Rodgers to 70 yards, and so when he's saying earlier, he means get in your seat. And in the first quarter, second quarter, be ready, be loud every single time they're in the huddle at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, he's telling the fans, treat this game like a playoff game. We need y'all there early, loud, and causing havoc at the beginning of the game, especially early. Make it hard for Trey Lance to not even get comfortable. He wants to see a true advantage, and this will be a good practice going into the playoffs. I think we've had a nice 10-year layoff at home in the playoffs. So this is a good warm-up game for Bronco fans to get us ready to go for the big games coming up.
Yeah, real quick, my buddy Phil sent me a text. He's one of my best friends. He helped perform our wedding. He goes, and huge Broncos fan, family's had season tickets since 1960. Said, Broncos minus 6.5 in the first half might be the lock of the year. And I'm like, oh, nobody's ever said that. And he's like, I said might. I'm like, no, I could hear it in your voice, even though it's via text. You said, it might be the I was like, doesn't mean that they won't get out to an early start, but it might be 10-6 at half. Let's not just assume anything because we know how silly it can get when you talk about laying some money down. But I think to Sean's point, get in there early, be loud. And, with what we've seen from Bo Nix, you and I, we talked about maybe he gets to rest, but Bo Nix has certainly been on an upswing in terms of his consistency, his ability to make plays. I think it has started. Nick Kosmider wrote this in The Athletic with using his legs, but Bo was asked about, because he even said, we don't want to peak in September. I think he said that in the early part of the season. He's like, we want to be playing our best ball later in the year. So he was asked about that specifically.
Yeah, I feel like, we've been tested, and I would say I've gotten better and better as the season's gone on, and ever since our break with Kansas City going on break, and the last several games against good defenses, we've been challenged, and we've been able to continue to hit strides and grow as an offense, and I feel good with where I'm at, but got to continue to strive for more.
I think that you're never going to hear Bo say really the wrong things. I snuck it in the middle of the press conference. You'll hear my question, but this wasn't, going into this game, the biggest story for the week around Bo isn't about his play. Did you see the video of he and Kirk Herbstreit from pregame in Kansas City?
I didn't see him since he told me that.
No, I missed this.
Okay, so he's there, and Kirk brings his dog everywhere. So that first video we saw where it looked like he was trying to grab the balls that Bo's warming up with. Well, as we find out, Bo doesn't like dogs. He has a fear of dogs. And Court's saying, I've got a Cocker Spaniel that Bo wants no part of. And so Kirk is doing all he can to get Bo to pet his pup Peter, who's like a year old. And so this is a big day, as Bo says.
My wife would be shocked.
Okay, so So Bo, it's not as bad as you remember back in the day. Eric Berry with the horse and the equine phobia. That's a funny video if you want to laugh at the NFL films. But Bo doesn't like dogs. So here we're gonna take it a step further. I asked him about it here in the press conference.
So the video went viral of you chatting with Kirk Herbstreit about dogs. How has the reaction been from people who maybe didn't know your stance on dogs or maybe your previous stance on dogs? And where does that at?
Well, I think it shocked me. I have a lot more people come up to me and tell me they're in the same boat. So I'm not alone.
All right, and here I'll take it one more step further. I haven't talked to Bo much. We don't talk to Bo much in the locker room. You know how it is. Sometimes PR will just kind of be near him, but he was talking to Troy Franklin, and I was kind of over waiting to talk to Bowles, and a couple other reporters standing there, and I'm like, oh, Bo may end up coming over to his locker, and no PR police guard. So he comes over, and I'm like, hey man, I was like, what was your wife's reaction to the? He's like, she was shocked. She's been trying to get us to get a dog, and they're pregnant. I was like, the best time that they'll tell you to get a dog is like when you're 6 months pregnant, because then the puppy will grow up with the baby. And he's like, yeah, it ain't happening. What do you think about Bo? Bo is not a dog guy.
Yeah, man. He definitely wouldn't like to be around my Belgian Malinois. I got the real canines down here, so
Yeah,
he wouldn't want to be around them. But that's funny. I didn't know Kirk brought his dog everywhere. Gets to bring his
everywhere.
dog everywhere like that. Because I would love to do I think my dog's legal to go anywhere though. My dogs can go to the game. They can go on planes. Like they're real canines, so they can really go anywhere. But
Yeah,
him being in Denver, he's gonna probably have to get a dog depending where he stays at. Because I've came home to a whole bunch of deer in the back of my yard before. You're gonna see some random animals come back there, so you got to be able to have some type of dog to kind of alert you out there in Denver for sure.
well, and I'm not revealing any secrets because it was made public, and then Bud Black's even talked about it on the radio because I think Bud Black lived next door to him, but he's in Castle Pines Village, which we know is gated, but it ain't gated from wildlife.
Over that, they can jump over
Jump over it. Mountain lions will jump over it. Yeah. So especially with a baby, maybe that's going to be the reason that they do get a dog, is just because those yards aren't fenced in there in Castle Pines. They, you go yard to yard. If you're ever able to walk that golf course when they have the golf tournament or lucky enough to play it, yeah, those houses there are at either of the Castle Pines golf courses. Very rarely are they truly gated. Some are, but you're just right into your neighbor's yard. And the wildlife's coming. So yeah, I think that's a good point that he probably, maybe that's his wife's selling point, is we need somebody to bark, to keep wildlife away from the baby. Let's get back on track though with looking at the game. So we don't know who's playing other than your old pal, and he was a faux first and then a teammate, but Keenan Allen has a bunch of incentives, and I know David's got I think he has a list of them. And if not, we know what Trout's incentives are. But yeah, here's what Keenan Allen can get. So I think he needs 6 catches to get to $250,000 because he's hit all those other ones. It says 9, but I think he got to 71. I think he's at 74. Right there it is. So $750,000, and then if he can get his receiving yards just 9 yards, that feels likely. And then the one that's not on there, that pays $250,000. 2 touchdowns pays another $250,000. 2 touchdowns feels unlikely, but you can see him in there busting his ass in the fourth quarter against Chris Abrams' drain, and while PS2's sitting trying to get that. So here, real quick, this is what Pat said as far as knowing Keenan Allen has to get his 6 catches.
Pat, when you know somebody like Keenan Allen, who's obviously a big focal point anyway, but needs a big day to hit a bunch of incentives, does that change the way you approach covering him?
I could say they would definitely force feed him in a way. I heard it early on today. Sean mentioned that I need a certain, incentive to reach some part of his contract deal, or something, but like a bonus. But it doesn't change my preparation or anything like that. Just got to stay locked in and sharp.
Shit is crazy that we're still talking about guarding Keenan Allen. Like, Like what? That's supposed to be long gone.
Well, I get it. So let's revisit this. Let's see, David. Where are we going to start with Chris's long history
Go watch
with
the
Keenan,
film, bro.
with Keenan Allen? So going back to so there was an ESPN article first.
Go watch the
So
film,
here's
bro.
this.
This is not a
Damn,
secret.
I don't think he
I
had
said
any
Chris Harris can't hold my jockstrap. He said, "Is that true?" Check the tape, man. Watch the tape, man.
Watch the tape, he says. And then they wrote an article about it.
catches.
And
What was
then
his stats? Do they have his stats on there or anything?
we can probably find it. And then what was your response? I think you got in the mix too, David. Do we have how Chris handled it in real time all the way back in 2019? I know he's
Almost
digging.
still, man.
Yeah. I mean, look, we can pull up these matchups, and I don't know how much you were on him game by game, but here, Keenan Allen versus Broncos. I mean, do you remember? I guess what started, and then when y'all were teammates, how'd that go?
It wasn't no issue then. You know, everything was good. Just trying to get that team over that hump, man. It was fun being with them and challenge them every day and working with those guys and working with Derwin and Casey Hayward. Those guys I respected playing with. But you know, it wasn't no issue with the rivalry with Keenan. I just can't believe that we're still talking about him today going against Patrick Surtain.
When did you hurt your knee in 2013 when y'all went Super Bowl 48?
The first game in the playoffs when I got hurt versus him.
Okay.
This dude had no catches until I got hurt versus first. Remember we lost to Phillip Rivers? No, we beat them. We beat them the second round of playoffs, right? Divisional round.
In 2013, gosh. I just remember
Phillip came back and threw for like 300 yards in the second half.
Okay.
You remember that game?
No, but my brain doesn't work as efficiently as it did. I'm just looking at his regular season numbers, okay? So that was his rookie year. He had 5 targets, 4 catches, 41 yards his very first game against y'all in November. A month later, he had just 2 catches, just 29 yards, but scored on both catches. So that's pretty good ratio there. Then let's go to the next year. You're healthy again now. He has 9 catches for 73 and a score in an October game in San Diego.
I was in San Diego?
Yeah, it was in San Diego still. That's 2014 because they weren't in the soccer stadium in 2014. Then he had just 3 catches for 18 yards in the second matchup that year against you. Then he missed 2 full seasons against you. Didn't play against you at all in 16. In 15 or 16. So 15 y'all going to the Super Bowl. He's not playing.
Super Bowl, yeah, he did.
I'm just telling you, I'm just reading this game log.
Man, I swear I thought he played every year.
Then you could jump to 17. He had 10 targets, 5 catches, 35 yards, but 1 score. 7 targets, 3 catches, 41 yards. So those are both in 17 and 18. He had a good game, 9 for 89 and a score in the early game here. And then 4 catches, 64 yards, no score. And then 19 is when y'all are talking trash. 4 catches, 18 yards. So we could put on, that was right after he said put on the tape. He had 4 catches for 18 whole yards, and then 6 for 68 and a score in the later one. The next year, 9 catches again for 67 and a score, and then 7 for 85. So, because what year were you in LA? What was your first? When did
20?
Okay, so 20 that didn't even count. So you were his teammate then. So 19 against you, he had, again, after talking trash, he had 4 whole catches for 18 yards on you.
That was in that had to be in Cali too.
4 for 18 was here, and then 6 for 68 was there. And that was a soccer stadium.
And his catches are gonna be like short routes. Like he's gonna run option routes, 3rd down, find the hole. He's gonna try to keep the chains moving. I don't see PS2 being even guard him too much. I see Jaquan McMillan having to deal with him more. This would be a good game from him. What's the other receiver? 15. Is that his McConkey? Lad.
Yeah, McConkey, and then Quentin Johnston too.
He's a guy that's been killing us. He's always had a solid game versus the Broncos, so we got to keep an eye on him. Quentin Johnson is actually playing better. Deep ball. He's playing aggressive, going to get the ball, making one-hand catches. Very improved this year. Improved off getting off the line. That's usually who PS2 has to deal with, Quentin Johnson. So I see Keenan going against Zaquan, probably Riley Moss, trying to work his way up the field, short routes and dink and dunk, and try to move the chain. So I see that kind of being his role this week.
Is Quentin Johnson a Texas kid? I know he played at TCU. Is he a Texas kid?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's plenty of physical. Yeah, there's plenty of physical tools. You see it, and you're like, all right, if this dude gets it all together, he's got number one kind of traits, but it feels like it's just been inconsistent. And you think being around someone like Keenan Allen, who, say what you want about, your interactions with him, Keenan Allen is a professional wide receiver who obviously has good skills, good work habits. You would think that can only help. And maybe that has helped this year. Last year Keenan wasn't around when he was in Chicago, and maybe that's part of what slowed Johnson's growth. It's not your teammates' responsibility to get you going, but having been around guys like Champ and Brian Dawkins, and then to lead, but what that did for raising the way you approached everything. Yeah, so there you go. He's from Temple, Texas, and look, they spent a first round pick on him. So they're waiting for it to click.
Yeah, he's still young, still 24. Keenan Allen was good he got better at receiver because he had, Antonio Gates, a route running expert, right?
Right.
Then you had Stevie Johnson that came in the next year. Then you had Eddie Royal to teach you how to run route. So he had guys, good vets that polish him up, teach him the route running, and kind of give him, kind of the game and his style that he has now. Q Johnston, he needs that same type of development with Keenan. I think it'll be good. He's probably gotten a lot better this year playing with him, and so that's good to have that vet for him to learn the routes, learn how to get open in the NFL. It's not all about speed, but it's being able to know the holes, know the coverages, and be able to find those openings. So hopefully Q Johnson is able to get that type of veteran presence from Keenan to help him out.
Yeah, Eddie Royal's not a name we talk about a lot. One of my favorite guys to ever talk to. He was here. His last year in Denver was your rookie year. Did he make you better in coverage because of the type of technician he was?
Who'd you say?
Eddie Royal.
Eddie Royal.
Did practicing against him help you at all?
Yeah. Oh man, just his speed. Eddie was very quick and had a lot of speed. So being able to get adjusted to that, knowing that I would probably see a lot of receivers his size, Emmanuel Sanders, AB, Tyreek Hill, all these guys around the same size and have that speed. So just being able to go against him definitely got me ready for the other matchups. Brandon Lloyd,
Wes Welker.
You
had to cover Wes Welker, then he became your teammate.
Those guys, DT going against a DT, then going against a smaller receiver. So I was lucky. Only thing that you couldn't get a good look for is a Gronk. There's nothing out there that can get you a look for Gronk other than finding a 6'5", 6'6" guy with a big old, monster sleeve that can push off on you. That's the only way you can get a good look for Gronk, but other than that, or Calvin Johnson. Other than that, DT is probably the closest you can get there. And, and Emmanuel, being able to have a big guy and a smaller guy, that definitely helped me out and getting prepared every week.
Yeah, to get ready for Gronk, you almost have to have Derek Wolfe line up at tight end and say, hey, Wolf, come on, do me a favor, run a 5-yard out for me and then push me off with your arm, because that's about the closest you're going to get. I mean, Gronk, you talk about one of one. And I know some people, they love Travis Kelce, love Shannon Sharp. You talked about Gates. If you were going to pick the one tight end and everyone's healthy for the whole game, whole season, I have a hard time picking anyone other than Gronk as my tight end. for
Oh,
an
yeah.
all-time team when he was at the peak of his powers. And hey, look, you at least made it tough for him, and TJ took him out a couple times in
Oh,
the
yeah.
year.
I
But
would
you know,
take
it wasn't
Gates number 2, then Kelsey. I would take
okay.
Gates number 2 because Gates, even though they did kind of feed him the ball, but Gates is the original route runner of this. Like Kelsey got his routes from Gates. Like those guys, and then a lot of time it's freestyling with Kelsey. If we can go back and look at, he probably has 200 catches, 300 catches of just Mahomes running around. Let me find an open spot. Boom, he's there. That's not a lot of, that's not the route running part. That's more of just being on the same page with your quarterback. So Gates had to really run routes. So I would put Gates at number 2.
I wasn't sure what year Tony Gonzalez went to Kansas City. And there's Sharpie. We should shout out Sharpie because he came to town. I wish we'd known he was here. But he had Elway on Club Shay Shay. So I need to go check that out here. I'm sure it's a good, I've seen some of the clips, that those two are going to have fun. Sharp was, and when Sharpie retired, he was number 1 for tight ends in yards, catches, and touchdowns. And then Tony Gonzalez passed him. By my math, did you only play against Tony Gonzalez once in your whole career in 2011 or 2012? I mean,
he's with the Falcons when I played him.
Yeah, it was that Monday night game where I think I might have lost to them. It was early on when Peyton first got there. That was the only time you saw Tony. Obviously, he, like Travis Kelce, tormented Broncos country for more than a decade. He was there from 97 to 08. And I've known Tony forever too, because Doug Gottlieb and Tony grew up hooping together in Southern California. And then I covered the Chiefs back in 2003. But the reason I'm bringing all this up, I got into it a little bit with people online this week because you saw the Hall of Fame finalists: Drew Brees, check; Larry Fitzgerald, check. Those would be the easiest. It's like when they just say John Elway's name, Brett Favre's name. They just, And then I said Jason Witten, Frank Gore, and people are like, oh, they're not getting in. I'm like, Frank Gore is second all time in rushing. So if he's not first ballot, it's just because they want to be haters or get somebody else in. Like, I get that he was never truly dominant, where you're like, oh, you played against Frank Gore, I'm sure some.
Yeah.
But how does this guy that's second all time in rushing yards behind only Emmett not just also get a check mark? But then Jason Witten, and look, Gates didn't even get in first ballot, and I had forgotten that. So, when you look at some of the other names that are there, and it's Torrey Holt, it's who else is in that list? I'm drawing a blank now. One of the other top wide receivers.
Who's on there?
Who's that?
Reggie
Wayne.
Wayne.
Reggie Wayne. So Reggie Wayne, Torrey Holt, guys like that. There you go. Darren Woodson for my money. And look, I grew up in Dallas. They won 3 Super Bowls when I was in high school. Marshall Yanda, perennial Pro Bowler. Vinatieri is the best, big game kicker we've ever seen. Kuechly, defensive player of the year, obviously walked away with gas in the tank. And so does Kuechly get in ahead of Jason Witten? I don't know. Eli's going to get in. I don't know if this is the year. I think this year is about Drew Brees. Big Willie Anderson obviously played a long time on some good teams there for the Bengals. Am I wrong in thinking Witten? When he retired, he was number 1 in all those stats.
If Drew Brees goes in, doesn't Eli go in too?
Eli's won more championships, but Drew's numbers are better than Eli's across the board.
Championships, though.
Yeah.
I'm like, if Drew goes in, Eli gotta go in. Right, that's just from my standpoint. Witten, I think Witten's probably going to have to wait.
Okay,
but Drew goes in. I'm like, Eli has to go in. But best defensive player on that list right there for me is Luke Kuechly, right there. So I would put him in.
Darren Woodson was the best defensive player consistently on those 3 Cowboys teams. I know Charles Haley was on those teams, but not only that, he is the all-time leading tackler in Dallas Cowboys history. And they've had a lot of good players and Hall of Fame players. And Woody, if I look it up, bunch of Pro Bowls, it's taken longer for safeties to get the love. That's why our guy Steve Atwater took forever to get in, and Kenny Easley and guys like that. But 3-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, and all-time leading tackler for the Cowboys, 3 Super Bowls. I'm just saying, eye test to me, Darren Woodson was a bad dude. He came on the heels of, he was coming into the league as Atwater and Ronnie Lott and those guys were finishing up, and he maybe wasn't that ferocious of a hitter, but he could hit now. So I don't know. Maybe I'm biased. And then Marshall Yanda, I mean, if I look it up, I bet Marshall Yanda probably went to what, 10 Pro Bowls? Seemed like
Yeah,
8
I can't
Pro
put
Bowls?
Yonder in over before Willie Anderson though. Like
Yeah.
or Evans. You know, it's
Yeah,
kind of
Jari Evans. That's the guy that Sean always says. Sean Payton's like, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Yeah. So Yanda he was all pro 7 times, 2-time first team, 5-time second team, 8 Pro Bowls. That's pretty darn good. And then I didn't realize just how I think Jari Evans
it was just throwing Yonder in Pro Bowls. I was playing,
Yeah.
I played that. They were just giving Yonder Pro Bowls, you know, but he is a good player, but it's just hard. I would say he's the third O lineman on that list.
All right. And then Jari Evans, obviously so long with the Saints as a player. I'm trying to find his
Evans was a
here we
monster.
go. Here we go. 4-time first team All Pro, once second team All Pro, 6 Pro Bowls, and he, like you, a member of the All Decade team of the 2010s. And then Vinatieri, you know, I mean, look, he's a kicker that
he should be in a lot.
The most money kicker we've ever seen.
Yeah,
in big spots. And if my math is right, does he have 6 rings? Something
they
like that.
shouldn't have a slot for the special teamers. Shouldn't be in this space. Like they should have a separate slot for those guys. You know,
I just don't know if there's enough of them beyond Vinatieri. You know, a guy like Matthew Slater might get in. Steve Tasker,
Slater should not get in. No, Slater.
I mean,
just at Gunner. Gunner, you can't get in at Gunner. Like we got to score some points.
Okay.
Right? So
Okay.
like a kicker, Vinatieri, or a punt returner, yes, not Gunner.
Well,
then I'm gonna argue for Bruton to get in. Oh my God, Daryl Stuckey, right?
4-time Super Bowl champ, 3-time first team All Pro, 3 Pro Bowls, All Decade team in the 2000s for Vinatieri. So, all right, we can move on from Hall of Fame. So the other story this week, though, Chris, and Sean kind of made it a bigger thing. They won the AFC West on the couch, thanks to the Texans, and then, you know, of course, by law, by rule, they have to put the gear out. And so Sean's asked about it, and he's like, yeah, Flip asked me what to do with it. He's like, I guess put it in their locker. He's like, my understanding is it's pretty ugly. And I'm like, that's a way to make sure they don't sell any of it, Sean, or not. But here's what it looks like. I do know our friends at Sports Fan, they have the T-shirts. And so it says, been there, won that. You know, your guy, Mario Vitanzi, he did not like the hat, but does like the T-shirt I saw on his Twitter feed. But let me ask you, because you won the AFC West. Yeah, I like the hat more than the T-shirt. But you won the AFC West 5 years in a row. Did you rock that gear at any point? Do you remember an enthusiasm? 2011, again, you kind of backdoored, but you still won it at 8-8. Or were you like, no, we're going on to bigger things? Because I know for me as a Jayhawks fan, if they go to the Final Four, we've been lucky that they go a lot. I don't buy gear unless we win it.
Yeah, I remember we always got ours on the field or right there. It was like right after we won it. But the only year that we didn't get that was, I think it was my rookie year. It was like some type of tie or something happened that we had
you guys won the tiebreaker. You had the tiebreaker over the Chiefs, and so you won the division at 8-8, and then beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, as we know.
I don't know if we got it that day.
Right.
I think we might have got it like that sometime later on that week. But yeah, that'd be the only time that I can remember. But
okay, but so what does your nostalgia collection look like? Because, you know, I don't see where your Super Bowl gear either, but, you know, you have Super Bowl championship gear, you have going to the Super Bowl in 48, and then you have 5 AFC West shirts and hats. Where does that gear live in your life?
Bronco storage. I got cleats. I got like 3 buckets of cleats, gloves, you know, just stored away, man. So I'm gonna have to give it away sooner or later.
Yeah, look, some of that stuff, especially the game worn stuff, we could find some charities out there that I think would love to have it. What's funny, so it made me think about Emmitt Smith, most touchdowns as a running back in NFL history, second most all time to Jerry Rice, saved every football ever. And some of them, you know, he wins a rushing title, or it's touchdown number 20 or number whatever. Some of them are just like week 8 against the Panthers, second touchdown. And they're all in like storage in Pensacola where his parents lived. And I think over time, he's just giving them away because random touchdown 130 nobody gives a damn about. So you know who else has a lot of stuff? If you want some Walter Jones gear, apparently DeMarcus Ware has more Walter Jones stuff than Walter Jones from all their times at the Pro Bowl together. So he's got a storage out there in Dallas, he said, that just has, boxes of Pro Bowl stuff. So either way, stop by Sports Fan if you want to grab one of those T-shirts, because it will be a collector's item. Maybe get Sean Payton to sign it if you run into him, because he's not a fan of.
He's gonna have more than everybody. I mean, damn, he should go to Pro Bowl every year.
Pat, yeah.
I don't know anybody else is gonna probably get close. He could probably break all the records, whatever Vines or Champ's records.
Champ went 8 times here. Champ went 12 times overall. Champ and Tony Gonzalez have gone to the most Pro Bowls for anyone to not win a Super Bowl. I think they either both went to 12 or Tony went to 14 or something. Okay, but so on all that, Cortland Sutton winning the division for the first time, and now what has been a long career, 8-9 years, first time winning the division. Here's Court on his reaction to getting the shirt and hat in his locker.
It's one of those tricky things. People keep reminding me that it's my first time doing it, and I do acknowledge that part of it. However, it's one of those things that I think Coach Lombardi said it the best when we had a meeting with him on Monday. It's one of those things that you is it an accomplishment? Yes, but it's one of those bittersweet ones to where you continue to win, and then the ultimate goal is to win the whole thing. You win the whole thing, and then that becomes like a just another shirt. It was a part of the journey. If you lose, it just becomes a reminder that and if it's the only shirt you have and you wind up losing, it just becomes a reminder that you didn't finish it all. So it's bittersweet, but you smallly acknowledge it. You don't even give it the 24-hour rule, kind of like winning a game. It's like one of those, like, you acknowledge it and say, okay, you check that box, and then you got to move on to the next one because there's more ahead, and I know that all the guys in that locker room would tell you that their goals are bigger than just winning the AFC West.
All right, when you hear Court say that, and I'll say this because Pat was kind of asked about it as he walked off the podium. He's like, I'm not sure I agree with Coach as far as the gear. You said you like the hat. I think I like the hat too. But I guess what's it mean for a guy like Court and Garrett to actually win the division, even if they did it while they were on the couch for the first time at this point in their career?
I mean, I think Cortland should definitely be more excited, on that. It took you 8-9 years to win the AFC West. It's a great privilege. It's very hard to do, extremely hard to do. And now you get to kind of put that banner up, put that up there with the banners with ours, and you should be happy for that. So it's just the first step. It's the first goal that you have in every year. Coming in as an NFL, you want to win the division, right? Check that off. Now let's try to get a higher seed for the playoffs. But, man, it's something to be proud of. We haven't won the division in 10 years. So, hey, man, it's something. I'll be rocking my hat, my shirt everywhere I go.
Yeah, and then your hope is that you get a Super Bowl, the full thing of Super Bowl gear, and then you get the Super Bowl championship gear as well, because I know we'd love to see a parade here. So, speaking of winning the division, to get that number 1 seed lockdown, you've got to take care of business. We know Trey Lance is not Justin Herbert. I did ask VJ, though, how do you prepare? Because there isn't a lot of tape out there, which apparently VJ disagreed with. So before we jump in the film room, here was VJ's answer when I asked, how do you prepare for Trey Lance? Again, 5 NFL starts. So I said there's not a lot of tape, but this was VJ's response.
You mentioned Trey Lance. How different is it getting ready for him with just not a lot of tape, really in general, but especially here versus getting ready for Herbert?
It's plenty of tape. I mean, he is a first-round pick for a reason. He's athletic. He can run. That's Coach's, theme this week about rushing the guy the right way because he can hurt us with his legs. I thought the kid we played last week was athletic also, and he got away a couple times. Not bad, but not good enough, to our standard. So I think Trey is a exceptional athlete. He can make every throw on the field. He's a first-round pick. So playing our best ball is going to be important for us. Guys, we don't care who we play. It's just doing our jobs, and each week it doesn't change. What's the best plan to get these people stopped, right, and put our guys in good position to make plays, and that's it, right? We don't care who's playing for them. At least I don't.
All right, and I get that. I think I guess I'll believe there's plenty of tape out there, some preseason tape all along the way as well. But here, let's do this. We actually have some tape of Trey Lance, so let's hop into the Chris Harris Jr. film room. All right, so we kind of went through these a little earlier before we got on the air. These are in kind of mop-up duty. How about that? Von Miller getting to him?
About the ass. There we go. Let's say I see now we get some pressure up the middle on him. He's going to struggle with that.
Yeah. And that's
what we do a good job at. John Franklin, Zach Allen. Those guys do a great job of getting a lot of pressure. So you put some pressure on him up front, man. He still has leg to get out.
Yeah, that's a heck of a play because you think he's sacked. I mean, the cameraman thought he was sacked.
I mean, he's a big guy, man. He's every bit of 6'4".
Yeah.
Probably 215, 220. That was a hell of a throw right there. He can make the throws on the run.
Yeah, more so than the kid we saw last week for the Chiefs, right? You said he can run, but he can. Yeah. I mean, there's some tools. We see that there are some tools, and which is why this is the NFL. And Keenan Allen's going to be trying to get his numbers. Ladd McConkey's not just going to roll over because the Herbert's not out there.
We should. Do we have the? We got the sack record, right? Do we have that?
Yeah, 64.
Okay, because I'm about to say he's going to give us about three or four more from just holding the ball.
Well, it's can you catch the Bears? I guess he gets you 8 or 9, but he will hold on to the ball, is what you're saying, to try to extend plays because he's athletic, right?
Yep. He wants to move around. He wants to get out the pocket. We want to cage rush this guy, make this guy beat us from the pocket. Let's see if he can throw. Of course, we got to stop the run. Hampton is going to get 30 carries, right? So we got to stop the running back, the rookie running back. He's starting to get hot too. So we got to definitely shut him down. They're gonna pound the ball. That's what they're gonna try to do.
Yeah, because Kamani Vidal didn't play the other day. Hampton's missed 2 days of practice though, and I know we're gonna get to the injury report in a little bit. Ankle, and it doesn't say because some of these are non-injury rest for Derwin, for Khalil, for Keenan on Wednesday as well. It says very clearly on this report that Omarion Hampton, ankle, DNP. Now, they may just be resting him because they're like, he doesn't need the practice necessarily. I mean, I get he's still a rookie.
Most rookies don't
do that. They're more served by keeping him off his ankle, I guess. I don't know. If he doesn't play and Vidal doesn't play, then Lance doesn't even have a lot there to work with in the backfield. So if anything scares you about Trey Lance, what is it?
Just his legs, like Coach VJ said, him being able to buy time, make a little plays, kind of like this KC guy, but, he's a much bigger guy. I think the KC guy might have been a little bit more elusive than Trey Lance, but Trey's a bigger guy. He can make the throws all over the field. But where he does struggle at is throwing in the pocket. He can't sit there and be a pocket passer all game. So that's the advantage that the Broncos have versus this guy. We cannot let him get outside the pocket and scramble and run. And we cannot let the Chargers develop a running game. That's going to help him out.
6'4", 226. When I was doing a little research, I saw when he was born. He was born May 9th, 2000, about a week before I graduated college. I was like, all right.
Oh, he's still very young. He's still
another
young.
way to make me feel old. I'm like, all right, man, it's fine. I'm 3 years
away
away
to go, man. He's young. He's still young.
Well, look, man, I'm going to be 50 in 3 years. You're about 10 years younger. You're going to be 40 here soon.
I got 3 years.
Yeah. See, I know what's up. Anyway, not a lot there in the film room, but enough to know that, you got to keep Trey Lance contained. That's something. And VJ kind of went into detail this week about explaining what cage rushing is. And you obviously just touched on it, but that, you want to keep him contained because the best play he made was clearly outside the pocket. And if we know that the Broncos at times aren't always, I don't know, spatially sound. And that's why there has been opportunities. Trevor Lawrence was able to take advantage of it at times. And certainly they've hit receivers out of the backfield in the flats or tight ends. So, because of the aggressiveness, that leaves some vulnerability. So against this kid, you can't do that. Yeah. All right, let's go from the film room. So that was our trip inside the film room. All right, touched on Omarion Hampton now, but let's do it officially and look at the injury report. All right, our latest Bell and Pollock injury report is a good one for the Broncos. Other than we're obviously keeping an eye on Dre Greenlaw's hamstring. He's on the other field every day. You know that they're going to let him take it easy and err on the side of caution there. The fact that he's on the field versus not, that's ultimately a good thing. But then Pat Bryant, full participant. Nate Atkins with his knee, full participant. JFM limited with the hip. So maybe you're going to go easier there if it's bothering him. But it's a good time to, knock on wood, be healthy heading into January.
The Broncos are fairly healthy, no major injuries. Of course, Greenlaw's been battling in and out all season, but for the most part, everybody's been fairly healthy. We do need John Franklin to be healthy, especially going into the playoffs. But, we have a lot of dogs on the D-line, so he can afford to get some rest. But, especially with the Chargers pretty much laying out all their backups this game and throwing the white flag, Broncos may be able to take advantage of getting some guys that like a Greenlaw an extra week to be able to recover.
Yeah, as I'm looking at the Chargers injury report, Vidal did practice full yesterday, so his neck's doing better, even though he sat last week in Houston or against Houston. And then Hampton's the one to keep an eye on beyond, the old guys like Khalil Mack. I say Derwin, he's not old, but vets that may just get the week off to rest so that they are a full go for the playoffs. I know that things pop up, whether happened over the holidays, New Year's, you get an offender bender, you have an accident, you have an injury, you don't anticipate it, you're going to need help, and there's nobody I trust more than our friends at Bell and Pollock. They're champions of the people for a reason. They'll fight for you. They'll come up with a winning game plan, so call them today, 303-795-5900 or championsofthepeople.com. All right, we've obviously had some big games this weekend. The only game before Friday, let's real quick spend a minute or two on college though before we get to our NFL predictions. What do you think of the 4 bowl games that we saw? The one that impressed me the most, other than Indiana, is for real, clearly Miami beating Ohio State. I think surprised a lot of folks. But what do you think of those 4 games?
The best game was that Miami-Ohio State game for sure. Just seeing – actually, Ole Miss game was pretty good too. But Miami, those guys just not afraid of Ohio State guys. They're not afraid of a Jeremiah Smith. They was up there playing with no fear, playing aggressive. I love the way their corners play, their defense played. Those edge rushers, my God. Bain and what's the other guy? Messidor, 4 and number 3?
Yeah, Bain's a unique body, but I think he is going to be a problem in the NFL. Like he feels like he's projected to go in the top 5, but he's one where you're like, I don't care what he looks like. Like I want that dude on my squad.
Some guys, like we got to stop with the metrics and all that BS. And some guys are just dogs and they got a different, different tick to them. And this guy is a monster. We see how he comes up the ball. His motor is nonstop. Ohio State, all those first-round guys they got on the O-line, 5-star, 4-stars, they couldn't block them. Nobody has been able to block them all season. So that would have to show you that, hey, this guy's worth it. But I love the way their secondary played. Oh, my gosh, that was a beautiful play on jumping that bubble by number 0. Did you see that for the pick 6?
Yeah,
that was cute.
Of course.
That was a great play. Of course, me being a nickel, seeing him do that, that was beautiful. I liked Ole Miss. Their quarterback is a problem. Really when it came down to it, he was a better quarterback than Georgia's quarterback.
Yeah, Chambliss, made the plays. You know who's loving that as much as anybody? He was not only, I think, at the game in the suite there. Lane Kiffin got $500,000 from LSU because they said they would match his incentives from his Ole Miss contract. And I want to say 6 of his coaches that are going with them to Baton Rouge are still there coaching. Let me ask you this. If Ole Miss could find a way to win this championship, and they obviously have, 2 what would be 2 big games in front of them, enormous games, does Lane Kiffin get a ring from Ole Miss? If they, and I don't know, do colleges make championship rings the way, I don't think they do it the way Super Bowl teams do or NBA championships or whatever, pro teams, but there's a ring, right? There's a national championship ring.
Are they out there running his plays?
Yes, and are they his players?
Okay, yeah. Give the guy his ring. He brought the quarterback wouldn't be there if it weren't for Lane Kiffin anyways, right? A lot of those guys wouldn't be there. So he definitely deserves his ring. He's allowing his assistants to go back there and coach, right? That are at LSU, even though he did try to coach, they wouldn't let him coach. But he's allowing his guys to go back there and finish the job, and they are running Lane Kiffin's system. So, of course, he deserves a ring. He deserves to get his bonuses. And, hey, that's just the way it goes, man. He's winning. He gets the double dip. And, hey, shout out to the NCAA being able to allow the coaches to eat like this.
David, let's see how fast your fingers are. I found this is the ring that everybody gets. Okay, that not only does it exist, this is one where the CFP has taken care of you because the ring is pretty uniform. With it has the kind of the CFP logo, and they've been doing it since 2019 at least. When I just looked it up, going back to LSU, and so every team gets kind of their colors mixed in with the championship ring, but it kind of looks the same. And it's, so see each year, like you can see if you scroll down a little, David, he went too far, but like LSU's is purple. It's got purple diamonds or purple gems. Michigan State's Michigan had a blue one that I saw there. See, like, I think that's kind of cool. And so, I would think that, especially if the CFP is in charge of it, then they'll probably mail Lane. I don't know. Either way, I know with $500,000 for each win, he'll happily just get his own damn ring or buy a championship T-shirt to put in his closet.
No, at the end of the day, he can go buy his own ring. I mean, damn, the guy's gonna be able to get a couple million off this, and they have a great chance, a legitimate chance to win. With that quarterback, anything can happen. The defense continue to play better. Ole Miss is just a terrible tackling team. Usually those bad tackling teams make it this far. But they're gonna have to clean that up if they want to get past. They want to get past the next game and be able to go in the championship. Who will they play? Will they play?
They play Miami. That's the one game. So that game's Thursday. So we can make that pick right now. The Canes are 3-point favorites. That game's in Arizona at the Fiesta Bowl. And we found out yesterday, Darren Rizzi, Broncos special teams coordinator, his son, is a Hurricane, and his daughter's one of the recruiting coordinators. So the bye week means as much Shariz. The bye week means as much Shariz as anybody else, because then he can shoot down to Phoenix Thursday night, assuming that Sean gives him a few days off. Because if they blow this to the Chargers, the Broncos, then Riz is getting ready for a playoff game. That means he can't go down there Thursday night. But yeah, Hurricanes 3-point favorites in Phoenix, where I don't know who's gonna have a bigger fan base there. Like, Miami has a little more money. Ole Miss has a much bigger fan base. But who wins that game?
I like Miami's defense better, but I just like Ole Miss quarterback way better than Carson Beck. So I'm gonna have to go with Ole Miss just because of the quarterback. Better quarterback. I don't see Beck being able to, he could compete with the Ohio State quarterback, saying I don't think he was just that good, especially with his legs. But this guy Trinidad is a monster. So I just see the Ole Miss quarterback being too much for Miami.
Yeah, I think he's surprising people when he took his helmet off. He looks like he's about 35 years old. Trinidad champ. Everyone's like, oh, all right.
All these guys are with the transfer portal. Guys are going to look older and older and older as we get into watching these guys in college, man.
I know they're going to be like, well, it's like Chris. Everybody's Chris Winkie and Brandon Whedon, where they've just been playing college football for forever and staying an extra year of high school to go to prep school or whatever. All right, let's jump into these NFL games. I think the NFL for the most part got the schedule right, except for how they're handling the Texans. But your 2 Saturday games, huge stakes. How about this though? The Bucs could win, and if Atlanta were to win this weekend, even if New Orleans might actually be the best team in that division right now, all 3 teams would be 8-9. But I think the Panthers hold the tiebreakers.
Yeah.
Who wins this game though? Panthers, Bucs. In Carolina, do the
Baker Mayfield being able to go get the job done. I think he can get it done this week.
If they don't, they're 7-point favorites at home. If they don't, is Todd Bowles seat hotter than it's already hot today. Is Todd Bowles not coaching there next year if they blow this at home with a chance to win it?
His seat should be hot. Atlanta, if Todd Bowles' seat is hot, Atlanta's, I think Raheem Moore's seat should be hot.
Yeah.
But they won the division every year with this trash record, 8-9, or barely winning 9 games. It's not like Todd Bowles has just been killing everybody in that division.
Yeah,
right?
And
So,
a very winnable division, right? This is the best version of Carolina we've seen in years. Atlanta has still won a bunch of games of late, but they're not world beaters, and we know what the Saints have been the last couple of years.
fire though. He's like experienced defensive coach, Super Bowl winning coach. There's not a lot of good coaches. So when you got somebody like him, maybe you might twist around the offense coordinator or defense coordinator, even though he's the defensive coordinator, might just make some little adjustments. But I wouldn't get rid of Todd Bowles.
Okay. Then the other game, this is for the number 1 seed. And you see the Seahawks going to San Francisco. So we know it's going to be a little bit of an advantage there. And the Niners with the win at 12-4 would jump to 13-4. They'd win the division, and they obviously have the tiebreaker over the Bears. Although, because the Bears have 12 wins, right? So Bears are 12-4. So at 13-4, we saw it. They won the tiebreaker last week. But when you look at it, the Seahawks are 4.5-point underdogs. Niners are the favorite at home. Brock Purdy, look, we're not handing out MVPs. Brock Purdy's been the MVP the last 2 weeks, 10 touchdowns in 2 weeks on prime time against a good Bears defense, especially, and a Falcons D that's better than it's been.
Yeah. I like Seattle, man. I like Seattle's defense. Those big boys up front are problems. Leonard Williams, all those guys. The linebacker core is tight, can move. Their secondary is damn near 6'1" and above everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And can all run, all physical. I like Seattle. I'm going with the top defense right now. To me, I'm gonna go with Seattle knocking off Purdy. I don't think as a secondary, I would not fear the 49ers at all, any of their receivers, if I'm them. So if I'm Seattle, I'm getting up, I'm making this game a grind out game, and we're gonna see if Christian McCaffrey can beat us, because I don't see the 49ers receivers or tight ends messing with these guys in the back.
Although my man Tonjes, he's like George Kittle, who he had himself certainly a nice first half last week for the Niners, and maybe they run more 2 tight end stuff now just to kind of change it up. Juwan Jennings was a complete no-show until the very end of the game when his touchdown catch actually hurt me in 2 fantasy championships. So, just like Shelby said, I don't care for him either. I'm not going to get as descriptive in my language, but I have no love for Juwan Jennings. F that guy. But I'm going to go the other way. I think the Niners at home, we saw this game a couple of years ago in Seattle on Monday night. I think at the time it was just Sunday night or Monday night, and the winner won the division and got the 1 seed, and the other team dropped to the 5 seed. And so I think, and I want to say Seattle won it that time with Russ. Like they made us stop at the goal line, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe I have it backwards, but I feel like that's what happened. So I think it'll be in reverse of that. I think the Niners win at home, but it won't blow my mind, obviously, if Seattle wins. All right. And then Sunday, we got a bunch of good matchups that I think we know the Dolphins have found ways historically to make things tough for the Patriots in the final week of the season. That's why I think you guys ended up hosting the AFC title games in 2013 and 2015. But the Pats, obviously, big favorites here in this one. Well, actually, no, 2.5. So the resurgent Dolphins, who won 5 in a row for Mike McDaniel before losing. Who wins this? Pats, Dolphins?
I'm gonna go with the Pats. This probably being the Dolphins' last hurrah. Especially with Mike McDaniels. I've seen that Troy Aikman is also going to be
a consultant to hire their GM.
Yeah, when they say that means okay. He's also going to be hiring the head coach when they say that,
Look, I don't know what Troy's tie is to Stephen Ross, other than, obviously they've maybe met each other. It was an interesting hire, though, or an interesting whatever he is.
Random.
Call it a hire. But yeah, to that partnership, Look, could the Cowboys use Troy's help? Maybe. But yeah, you think Troy being brought in is good or bad for our guy Champ Kelly, who as interim GM traded away Jalen Phillips, got him some more ammunition, and then they won a bunch of games, but that's more Mike than Champ, obviously.
I think it's bad. It just sucks that they haven't let him cook. Let him cook for a while, and he's gonna find guys. He's a great talent evaluator. All those guys in Denver that we had coming through, underdogs that was balling, came from Champ. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
And he always has guys around the league that you wouldn't know about that just pops up out of nowhere and they're balling. So I would, if I'm them in Miami, I would give him a chance. Let him see what he can do. Hopefully Troy can, give him a fair interview and not try to get one of his guys that he knows. Let's give him a fair interview. Let's go off the results of what he's been able to do and the guys that he's had, and let him prove it. I think Miami would be a good spot for Champ.
A couple things that would be funny would be if Troy got either Stephen Jones. He's like, I think Stephen Jones should be the Dolphins GM, or because Jerry won't let him be GM, or like one of Stephen or Jerry Jr.'s kids, one of Jerry's grandkids gets hired as the GM. This happened years ago. Jerry Colangelo was hired by the Sixers to consult. And after an exhaustive search, you're never going to guess who he landed on to be the GM. Brian Colangelo, his son, was the best choice he could come up with when they were moving on from the process.
How do we know Troy doesn't want to be the GM? He sees
maybe Troy
guys. He has guys that's doing it.
He's like, he's like, I like calling games. Well, I don't know, $20 million. You're not making $20 million a year to be a GM. Troy's got plenty of money, but he's the highest paid analyst in the NFL. So there's that. The reason New England needs to win this game too is to stay ahead of Jacksonville with the 2 seed, because I think Jacksonville, if they win, would have the tiebreaker because their conference record is going to be, at that point they will be 10-2 in conference, and the Pats will be 8-4. So yeah, I'm with you. I think the Pats win, but I love the chaos. I'm always a fan of chaos. So if the Dolphins win, and I like Mike, I don't want to see Mike get fired. But
yeah, me either.
But
yeah.
I think and if they win, that strengthens Champ's case too a little bit too. You're like, look, since I've taken over, clearly there's a synergy here. Either way, all right. Then the Sunday night game, which is, I think, good for TV. Putting the Steelers on TV is still always good. Aaron Rodgers it's still an interesting story, and then the Lamar thing is really the most interesting story. The line on it, the Steelers are 4.5-point underdogs at home. And I don't know it took so long, but they've decided to give Derrick Henry the ball again. He's got 1,500 yards now, 1,600 yards. He was a monster last week. Who wins this game?
Yeah, I'm going with the Ravens. Running game, Henry. I almost like him better if Jackson doesn't play, but, I think I've seen Jackson is playing. Only reason why I say that is because I know for sure Henry would get 30 touches. So, right. But I think this week they'll still kind of stay in that same philosophy, pound the ball, play action game with Lamar. Steelers just, their offense just isn't good. There's no really weapons, nobody that fears you on there at the receiver position. Aaron Rodgers is going to need a lot of help. So I got to go with the Ravens.
Yeah, there's a conversation, that we talked about a little bit last week too, that Mike T could walk away for a year and go do TV, get recharged, just like we saw with Sean Payton. Obviously, other teams would want to talk to him, but he may want to just decompress. Arthur Smith is a name that you heard at various points, like, oh, is he going to get a second shot? And I'm not saying he won't, but with what their offense has been able to, or not been able to do, I'm not even sure that the Steelers would. I'm not saying they wouldn't interview him. I don't think they would hire Arthur Smith either right now. And so I think Arthur's going to have to go be a OC somewhere and have a bit of success. Here's your Ravens injury report, though. Lots of guys on there. Lamar, 2 days of full practice. Ronnie Stanley, healthy. Keep an eye. No, Kyle Van Noy would obviously affect them. But I think that if Lamar plays the way we know he's capable of, and they give Derrick Henry the ball 30 times, they're going to sneak into the playoffs. And there's a world where the Broncos could see them real quick here because they would host a game and they would host the the Texans, I guess. So they'll host the Texans. I certainly think they can beat the Texans if they're hosting a game. And then they're getting on a plane potentially and flying here if the two home teams were to win. Now, we don't know what the Chargers and Bills would do going on the road to doing it, but we could see Lamar. Everyone's saying, oh, no Lamar, no Joe Burrow, no Patrick in the playoffs. This is Josh Allen's best chance, right? That's been a narrative. Well, Lamar might sneak in the back door here, and then watch out, because if anybody can get hot and carry a team, it's that dude.
Yeah, but their defense is just so bad this year. I wouldn't be fearing too much of the Ravens, and they don't really have an offensive identity yet, even though it should be very simple, right? Just give the ball back to the running back, and play action off that, and get Lamar out in motion, and get him out on boots and out the pocket to make throws. But they just don't do that. They make their jobs very hard, and so I just think that nobody wants to see the Ravens in the playoffs. The fear playing the Steelers without DK Metcalf is gone. And that is a fear, right? When you got a big playmaker like that outside, you have to count for him on the defense. So they don't have any fear versus these guys. I see the Ravens balling, getting into the playoffs. You never know what can happen if Lamar and Derrick Henry get in there. They can get rolling.
Let me correct a couple things. I gave you opening lines, which is set early in the year, weeks ago. Bucks are 3-point favorites. We still like them to win. And so it had opened at 7. That was before. Then scrolling on down, another one. The Dolphins and Pats are now 11-point favorites. Okay. And that's an interesting game now to bet, because I certainly could see the Dolphins showing up, or even late touchdowns. Achane rips off an 80-yarder and they cover that. The Ravens Steelers got even closer. It's just it was 4.5. It's 3.5. And then that Niners game, I scrolled right past it. It's a 1.5. Seattle's a 1.5-point favorite.
See?
Nonetheless, so you like Seattle, and then the Broncos. We're about to get to the Broncos. I'm looking at 2.5. I'm like, no, it's way more than 2.5. So the final game, Broncos 12.5. And as I mentioned earlier, my buddy Phil said 6.5 in the first half feels like the lock of the year. If the Broncos come out firing, if they take the ball, and they probably won't, they'll probably still kick and give Trey Lance, first dibs on the ball. But
yeah,
what do you see this game shaping up as, and what's the final score?
I'll give them probably a touchdown, let's give them 12-28.
28-12 Broncos. I'm with you. If they score 2 touchdowns, like Keenan Allen has $250,000.
A couple field goals.
Yeah, it feels like a couple field goals and a touchdown's about all that Trey Lance could muster. And it feels like it's going to probably take Broncos going for it on 4th down at midfield and not getting it, or another turnover, a fumble, or an interception. And that is something, the Broncos have harped on, is taking the ball away. And Vance talked about it again yesterday, and Sean talked about it earlier this week. Only one team ever in the playoffs has had a negative takeaway in the playoffs. Now, you guys in 2015 are one of 6 teams all time to have negative giveaway takeaway and win the Super Bowl from the regular season.
You still have a negative, even with all the turnovers they were getting?
You were +4. Well, Peyton had 10 interceptions to 6 touchdowns. He had 4 interceptions against the Chiefs. But
how many turnovers were we having, though? We weren't we were still in the top in takeaways.
Okay, well, I guess giveaways. I can tell you. Yeah, I know, because we talked about this the other day. And I was talking to Andrew Mason, went and did the research.
Mason's gonna have all the information.
Yeah, Mace has it. Here you go. 2015, the Broncos were. Why is it only giving me half the teams? It's NFC. That's why. Your Denver Broncos that you start on, you guys were -4 going into the playoffs. You guys had 14 interceptions as a team. Oh, these are takeaways. 14 and 13 for 27. You gave it away. Well, this math is wrong. This giveaway is 23. Totals 31. Oh, 23 interceptions, 8 fumbles. So 31-27. Yeah.
That's
so y'all put
bro.
the ball on the carpet a little too much.
We gave it away, but we still took it away a lot too.
Yeah, 27 takeaways. That's getting obviously getting it done on that side of the ball, something they haven't done. But in the playoffs, y'all were +4.
Now, how many takeaways do we have now?
I will tell
We had
you right now.
27 takeaways. So how many do we have now?
You have, I'm gonna pull up we didn't even go to the matchup page today, but Broncos are takeaways as a team. You are -5 as a team total. Broncos have 9 interceptions, which is 19th in the league, 3 fumble recoveries on the season, 30.
That's the stat right there that's mind-blowing, because when you have that many sacks and you're going for a sack record, you would usually get sack forced fumbles and get way more turnovers. So I think that's something that they should harp on a lot more going into these playoffs, trying to knock that ball out of the quarterback's hands, because they are getting to the quarterback, right? But it's making a play on that ball to finish the play. We got to get some more sack forced fumbles.
Yeah, that's something VJ's talked to. He's like, look, we want them to aim for the elbow. I mean, Vaughn was truly a master at that. And Vaughn said he was always going for the ball, that the sack would come, but he was aiming for the ball. Clearly, it obviously paid huge dividends. And you would think, as much as they live in the backfield, you'd be at the mesh point every now and then on a handoff or on a toss to throw off that time, and they just haven't done it. And that has been a bit of a head scratcher. But yeah, I'm with you. I think the Broncos roll in this one. And I think maybe they even get to 30 points, especially if guys like Derwin James and Khalil Mack aren't playing. And we could see some
Derwin James, they're done.
Yeah. We could see some Stidham to Pat Bryant touchdowns, or Stidham to Michael Bandy touchdowns, even Mercedes Lewis. And Troutman's got to get 5 catches. So we'll see.
That ain't happening.
Well, as Sean joked, that's how many he has in the whole season. And then we, of course, will have your there's his incentives. So he has 20 catches on the year, but he'll get
come on, coach. Give him that 5, coach.
Yeah, gives him 125 million. If he has 15, that is a big day for Trout. It's a career day, truly. Well, this has been a lot of fun, Chris. We'll be back next week to preview the playoffs, where hopefully the Broncos are just chilling. Also want to remind everybody that on Sunday we will have our normal post-game live show with Chad and Kristen Brown, and I'll join them from the field. So enjoy the fun weekend of football. Happy New Year. Did you make any New Year's resolutions?
No, not right now.
Okay, well, you're running. I think you have
Keep
about a week.
clean. Keep my section clean, man cave clean, all that.
There you go. That's a good way to do it.
Of 2026.
There you go. And I think I'm trying to do the same thing. I'm trying to yell at my kids a little less, but they're 7 and 5. They're easy to yell at.
It's hard.
They do a lot of silly stuff. I'm like, why would you leave that there? Why is that? Like, what are we doing here? I say clean up the house, and they make it dirtier, like during the cleaning. So you know how that goes with 5 little ones. All right, bud. Well, happy New Year. Let's hope we get this Broncos win, and we'll see you next week on We're the Harrises on Tuesday, and then of course here. So thank you, David. Thank you, John, and thank everybody for watching and listening. This has been Football Fridays.